Hello everybody and welcome back to Gaming on Caffeine. My name is Isaac and we are back for episode 5 of the CrackPack. And I'd like to start today's episode by apologizing for the massive gap between this episode and last episode of the CrackPack. For those who follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I've been a bit ill over the past week. My voice has just been 100% destroyed. You can probably still hear it a little bit right now. I'm still a little bit coarse, a little bit croaky. But we're back and we're going to record some more CrackPack because it's been way too long. And what I want to do in today's episode is I want to automate the mining process, because up until now all of our mining has been done manually. I have to go down to the mines, I have to mine for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, bring it all back up, smelt all the ores, do all that processing stuff, and I want to start moving towards automating all of that so we can use all of our ores and all of our ingots to make cooler stuff without having to spend a ton of time mining and doing all that kind of boring stuff. And so today I want to start working on getting a digital miner, but before we can do that, we first have to do some more mining, because right now we actually don't have all that much in the way of resources. We're not doing too bad, but right now we've got 23 iron and 2 gold, which is not really a lot. And then if we come over here, we've got a little bit of redstone. We've only got 5 diamonds, which is one of the big limiting factors. Most of the automated mining machines that you can make, like the quarries and the digital miner, all require quite a lot of diamonds. And so the first thing that we're going to do in today's episode is we're going to make a Tinker's Construct hammer, and then we're going to use that hammer to go down and do a bunch of mining, come back up, smelt all of the ores, process all of the gems, and then we're going to make and set up our mining system. So, one thing that I have done between episodes is I made a tool forge. The reason why I made a tool forge is that I started recording a video, I made the tool forge, and then my voice was just not working, and it sounded absolutely horrible, so I scrapped it, and I started again today. But we have a tool forge. For those who are unaware, the tool forge is basically an upgraded tool station with 3 seared bricks and 4 blocks of iron, and essentially what it does is it allows you to craft more tools than you can in the normal tool station. For example, if we open this thing up, we have the ability to craft the hammer, whereas in the normal tool station, there is no hammer. There's just all of the basic tools like the pickaxe, hatchet, shovel, mattock, all that kind of stuff. And for those who are wondering how I just pulled up the recipe for the tool forge so quick, if you press numpad 3 on your keyboard, which is the number 3, all the way over on the right hand side if you've got the numpad on your keyboard, if you press that, that will open up the crafting recipe for whatever you're currently looking at. So right now I'm looking at oak wood planks. If I press numpad 3, that's going to bring up the recipe for oak wood and planks. If I look at the smeltery controller, I can open up the recipe for the smeltery controller. Pretty nice little shortcut to have. It saves you having to type in smeltery controller or tool forge or anything like that into NEI. But anyway, now that we've got ourselves the tool forge, we can make the hammer. And to do that, we need 1 hammerhead, 1 tough rod, and then 2 of these large plates. Now, the tough rod is different to the normal rod. Again, if we come over to the crafting station, the normal rod is over here on the left, and then the tough rod is here on the right. It requires slightly more materials and is used in the higher end tools like the lumber axe, the hammer, and the excavator. And so what we're gonna have to do to start with here is grab some oak wood and make a couple more of those blank patterns, because right now we've got 1 in that chest, but if we're gonna make the hammer, we're going to need at least 3, so we can get 1 for the hammerhead cast and also 1 for the large plate. So let's grab all of those. Let's bring that back over to the stencil table. We can then grab a stencil for the tool rod. We can take that. We can grab a stencil for the large plate, and we can grab a stencil for the hammerhead. So if we look at all of these, each one of these has a pretty high material cost. The large plates and the hammerhead both have a material cost of 8, which means it's going to take 8 of whichever material we decide to use in order to make that part, and then the tough rod also has a material cost of 3. So pretty expensive overall to make the hammer, especially considering that we need 2 of these large plates. Also, one other thing that I did between episodes is I moved my bed over to this side of the map. The reason why I did that is because over where it was before, it was directly above my skeleton spawner and my enderman spawner, and so whenever I went to go to sleep, I just couldn't sleep because there were monsters nearby. So now we've done that, let's quickly grab some cobblestone. We're going to use this cobblestone to make cobblestone parts for the large plate and the hammerhead. And the reason why we're doing that is so that we can go ahead and make casts for those parts so we can pull out things in the Tinker's Construct smeltery. So why have you not gone over to here? We are running a little bit low on gold, which is why I went and did a bit of mining before the episode to get a little bit more, because we are going to need at least 4 gold to make the 2 casts for the hammerhead and the large plate here. So we'll wait for that to smelt up. Whilst I'm waiting for that to smelt up, I will stick my 2 golden ingots into here. That's going to get me at least 1 of the casts. And you'll notice that I have 24 electrum ingots within the smeltery. And that is because I was looking through NEI at all the hammers from Tinker's Construct, and I was trying to find the one that had the fastest mining speed. And out of all of them, the one that struck the balance between fastest mining speed and most reasonable resource was electrum, because electrum, if we look at this, has a mining speed of 6.8, which, for example, compared to an iron hammer, has a mining speed of 2.4, so it's almost 3 times as fast as an iron hammer would be. And when I say reasonable materials, there are hammers that are faster than this, but some of the materials like awakened draconium, signalum, cobalt, ardite, manulin, all that kind of stuff is a little bit out of our price range right now, and so we're not really looking at those kind of materials. Instead, electrum is super easy to make. All it is some gold and some silver in the smeltery. So let's throw in that little bit extra gold there. Let's bring the gold down to the bottom. And now, if we go back into the part builder, we can put in the large plate pattern, or we can then put in a bunch of cobblestone. That's going to get us a cobblestone version of the large plate pattern, which is basically just going to be used to make a cast. And we can do the same thing with the hammerhead here, so we can make a cast for the hammerhead. Now, I'm not going to do it with the tough tool rod, because one other feature of the electrum hammer here is that it has very low durability. You can see right now, a full electrum hammer would have a durability of 1,133, compared to, for example, an iron hammer again, which has a durability of almost 3,000. So not a very high durability. And so what I want to do instead is I want to make the tool rod of my hammer out of obsidian, which is going to give it the reinforced effect, which is going to give it a higher durability. So we've got our cast for the large plate. Let's also go ahead and grab a cast for the hammer here. Make sure the gold's at the bottom, pull that out. And then once that's done, we can take out the cobblestone piece, we can start pulling out some of the electrum there. Whilst we're waiting for that to pour out, we can go back over to our part builder, we can stick in our tough rod pattern, and because obsidian is not any kind of molten liquid, we don't have to do it with the smeltery, we can just put the obsidian directly into the part builder here. That's going to get us the obsidian tough rod, which, as you can see there, gives it the reinforced 3 effect, so we'll take that. We will also grab this, and then we need to quickly pull out 2 of these large plates. And then once we've got both of those, we can come back over again to our tool forge, we can put all of them back in their respective places like so, and that gets us the electrum hammer. Nice. Now, there is another downside to the electrum hammer, and that is its mining level. Right now, it only has a mining level of iron, and so one upgrade that we are definitely going to have to put onto this tool is the diamond upgrade, which is going to increase its durability by 500 and also give it the ability to mine all the way down to obsidian. So we click that, its mining level is now obsidian, so we can take this out, and its durability is up to 1,148. If we take the diamond off, the durability is 648 with an effective durability of 925 thanks to that reinforced 3 buff. So we'll put that on there. That takes the effective durability up to 1,640, which is still fairly low. We could put an emerald on there if we had one, and then we could upgrade that by 50% again, up to about 2,000 if we really wanted to. But for now, I think it's going to do just fine for me. It does have the mining speed of 6.8. I think I might add a little bit more redstone to it just to see how fast we can make this thing. It's probably going to take more than 3 blocks worth of redstone to actually fill up the modifier here, because the way that modifiers work with things like redstone, the diamond modifier, you can only put 1 diamond on, whereas with the redstone modifier, you can put up to 50 pieces of redstone on before it requires a second modifier. So if we do something like this, that's going to increase the speed up to 8.09, and we've still got a little bit more room for redstone. Now, we don't have that much redstone, but I do plan on going all the way down to around level 12 to get a bunch more diamonds for the digital miner, and so I'm not really too bothered about redstone. We're probably going to get quite a lot of it when we do our mining. So for now, let's just do something like this. We do need to craft this back up into normal redstone, because right now we've got 45 out of 50 redstone, and so of course we can't add 9 more. We can add 2, 4, and then 5. And if we want to add 1 more, that would take up our final modifier. If I take that out, you can see we have 1 modifier remaining. So now our electrum hammer has a mining speed of 9.2, and so should be able to quite quickly tear through a bunch of the ores, especially when you consider that it mines in a 3x3 area. And so essentially what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to go away, I'm going to do a bunch of mining until we have enough resources to set up the system that I want to set up for the digital miner. Before I do that, I do want to quickly show you how fast this thing is. It's not going to be groundbreakingly fast, so don't get your hopes up too much, but considering it is a hammer that mines in a 3x3 area, this thing should be fairly fast. So let's take a look at this here. How fast is this? It's pretty fast. If you've played around with the normal hammer and you've seen how slow these things are by default, this thing is pretty fast. We did just wade through a little bit of durability there that we didn't really need to wade through, but like I said, I'm going to go away. I'm going to do a bunch of mining to try and get as much stuff as I possibly can, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so a little while later, I've done a bunch more mining. We now have a ton of ingots, as well as 27 diamonds and 64 blocks of redstone. So now we need to start crafting the digital miner. And to make this, we're going to need 2 atomic alloys, 1 basic control circuit, 2 logistical sorters, 1 Robbit, 2 teleportation cores, and 1 steel casing. Now, before we can make most of this stuff, we're going to have to make some metallurgic infusers, because if we look at any of these recipes, for example, the alloys here are made in a metallurgic infuser, the reinforced alloy is a metallurgic infuser, the enriched alloy is a metallurgic infuser, and the basic control circuit is made in a metallurgic infuser. Almost all of the items required to make the digital miner are made in a metallurgic infuser, and so the first thing that we are going to make here is, of course, the metallurgic infuser. Thankfully, it's super easy to make. It's just 4 iron, 2 redstone, 2 furnaces, and 1 osmium. So, let's go ahead and grab some iron, let's grab some of our redstone, and we should have quite a bit of osmium, and we do, and we can craft all that up in here with some cobblestone to make the furnaces, and I'm actually going to go ahead and make 3 of these right off the bat here, because the way that the metallurgic infuser works is it allows you to infuse metals with other items, and the way that you do that is, if we go ahead and quickly throw these down, I can show you how this works, but essentially we're going to infuse metals with 3 different key ingredients. So, let's throw these down here, here, and here. And for example, if we were to come into this first metallurgic infuser, the way that it works is you put the item that you're going to infuse the metal with in the left slot here, this purple slot, and then that will be transferred into this bar on the very far left. As you can see right now, we have 30 redstone, and each redstone that we put in equates to 10 redstone in this little bar. And then if I put some iron in here, that will infuse that 1 ingot worth of iron with 10 redstone to make me, I think, one of the basic control circuits. Let me quickly go back to the digital miner here. I'm pretty sure that's the recipe for... Oh no, I think it's actually the recipe for this. Yeah, so that'll make us 1 enriched alloy, which we can then use to make the other alloys later on down the line. So we can take this and we could do whatever we like with it. But, for example, now if I were to craft up the atomic alloy or the reinforced alloy, these things don't require redstone. They require diamonds or obsidian. Or if we look at the recipe for steel, the recipe for steel, if we get the one from Mechanism, is made by smelting up steel dust, which is made in the metallurgic infuser with some coal and some enriched iron, which is just more coal and iron. So you can see that we need to put different items in this left slot all the time. And so the reason why I've made 3 of these is I'm going to have 1 that is dedicated to redstone, 1 that is dedicated to coal, and then 1 that is dedicated to diamonds and obsidian. The reason why the last one is dedicated to 2 things is because diamonds and obsidian are not really used all that often, whereas coal and redstone are used in abundance. So let's head on back down here real quick. Let's throw some coal. Actually, before we do any of this, you'll notice that every time we put 1 redstone into here, it gives 10 redstone in this little bar. But what we can do is we can actually get more redstone out of each piece of redstone, if that makes sense. So we can put in 1 piece of redstone and get 100 redstone in the bar here, therefore allowing us to make 10 of these enriched alloys from 1 redstone instead of having to put 10 redstone in. And the way that we do that is using the enrichment chamber, which is this machine over here. And essentially, if we look at the recipe for the enriched alloy again, you'll see that you can either put normal redstone in or compressed redstone in. And if you put compressed redstone in, instead of just putting 10 redstone into that little bar, it will put 100 redstone into that bar. And the way that you make it is by putting 1 normal piece of redstone through an enrichment chamber, and that will get you the compressed redstone. So, let's go back up here. The recipe for the enrichment chamber is, again, fairly easy. It's 2 basic control circuits, which requires us to put some osmium into our redstone metallurgic infuser. It also requires a steel casing, which requires 4 steel. So, we do also need to put some coal into here, and then some iron as well. That's going to get us some of the enriched iron, which we can then put back through the metallurgic infuser with some more coal to get some steel dust, which we can then smelt up to make some steel. Like so. For some reason, putting the steel dust into the alloy smelter made refined iron, but refined iron is interchangeable with steel in the ore dictionary, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and grab some glass, and let's come back over to the crafting station, and we should be able to craft the steel casing. And then, once that is done, what are we missing for that steel casing there? We've got the steel, we've got the glass, we've got the osmium. Oh, we don't have enough glass, actually. And let's grab 2 more glass. Then let's come back to the crafting station, throw all that together to get the steel casing, and then craft that steel casing with everything else to get the enrichment chamber. Nice. Now, redstone's not the only item that you can do this with, and actually, redstone's the only item that we really don't need to do this with because we have a lot of redstone. More specifically, it's going to be very useful for when we're using diamonds and obsidian, because again, if we look back at the digital miner here, to make these atomic alloys, we need reinforced alloys, and to make those, we need to put enriched alloys in with some diamond dust, and we could normally just put diamonds in and that would work, but if we put compressed diamonds in, we're going to get 10 times as much, which means we don't have to use anywhere near as many diamonds as we would without the enrichment chamber. So if we just throw in, for example, some redstone in here, it's a little bit slow, and all of these machines are a little bit slow. You can speed them up over here on the right. That are upgrades, and you can click on here, and you can put speed upgrades in. If we type in speed upgrades, these ones over here, and the mechanism speed upgrades, they're fairly easy to make. It's 2 glass, 2 enriched alloys, and 1 osmium dust, but for now, we're just gonna have to wait this out. So now if I come back over here, and I see we've got 20 in there, if I put 1 compressed redstone in, we now have 100. So it only did 80 that time. This is the newest version of mechanism. It's mechanism 9, which means there may be some changes that I'm not quite aware of. For example, I believe redstone used to do 100 if it was compressed in the older versions of mechanism. Now, apparently you only get 80, but it is a significant increase over just doing 1 individual redstone every single time in the metallurgic infuser. And so what I'm going to do now, guys, is I am going to go away real quick. I'm going to make a bunch of the basic enriched alloys, and also I'll probably make all of the reinforced alloys, which are just diamonds, through the compressor to make compressed diamonds, and then into the metallurgic infuser with the normal enriched alloys, so these ones that we're going to make in here. So let me put like a bunch of iron in there, and let's put all of those diamonds into there. I don't think we're going to need more than 3, so we should be fine on that front. Actually, whilst we're waiting for all of this stuff to craft up, we could probably start working on making the Robbit and the logistical sorters, because these things do require some other items as well. So, let's grab some wood, because we are going to need that for a piston. We've already got some cobblestone, we've already got iron and redstone, so let's go ahead and craft up the 2 pistons that we're going to need for the logistical sorters. We then also need to make this Robbit, which requires 2 energy tablets, which are also made with enriched alloys. Everything in this crafting recipe requires some form of alloy by the looks of it, which is a bit of a shame. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away. I'm going to wait until we have a bunch of these enriched alloys. I'm going to craft those enriched alloys up with some of this compressed diamond in this one over here to make some of those reinforced alloys. I'm also going to get a bunch of these basic control circuits, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so a little while later, I've now got 32 of these enriched alloys. I've got 7 of the reinforced alloys, which I think is all we need to make the digital miner. I've got quite a bit of steel dust, which we are now going to start smelting up over here in the alloy smelter. And now we need to start looking towards making these atomic alloys, which are made by putting some refined obsidian dust or some compressed obsidian into the metallurgic infuser with 1 reinforced alloy. Now, the way that you make a refined obsidian dust is by putting normal obsidian dust, which you can get, by the way, by putting obsidian through any kind of pulverizing machine, or in our case, the sag mill. So we'll stick that into there. That's going to get us 4 obsidian dust. You can see I've got some already. And now, if we throw this into the metallurgic infuser with the diamonds, that is going to turn into refined obsidian dust. At that point, we can either put that directly, as you would expect, back into the purple slot here, and that will fill it up on the left side, or as we've been doing up until now, we can put it back into the enrichment chamber, and that is going to get us the compressed refined obsidian, which we can then put back into the metallurgic infuser, and I believe should get us 80, if I'm not mistaken. So, let's take this out. I am going to wait for this to finish here, just to get us a little bit more of this refined obsidian. I don't think we're going to need it, because we only need 7 of these atomic alloys, and if it does indeed give us 80 in the slot on the left here, then it should work out just fine. So let's take you out of there. We do have a little bit of diamond left in here. Unfortunately, we are going to have to dump that, but now if we throw in the compressed obsidian, that did get us 8, so we can put all of these reinforced alloys in there. They're going to craft up into atomic alloys. And once we're all done, we should now be able to make the digital miner. So we'll take all these basic control circuits. We've got everything from everywhere else. All of our steel should now be smelted into some refined iron, which it is. Let's grab some glass over from here. And I think we should now have everything we need to make the digital miner. We are going to need a little bit of gold as well, so I'll take that. I don't think we need anything else apart from iron and osmium. So we've got the atomic alloys. We've got the basic control circuit. We need to make both of these logistical sorters like so. Once we've got both of those, we need to make the Robbit, which requires 2 energy tablets. These are made with some gold, some redstone, and some of these enriched alloys. They don't stack, which is a little annoying, but that's fine. We also, however, need 2 refined obsidian ingots. Now, to make these, we have to put refined obsidian dust with some osmium through an osmium compressor. So, let's have a look here. Osmium compressor. What do we need for this guy? We need 4 enriched alloys, 2 of the advanced control circuits, which are 2 enriched alloys and a basic control circuit, so we can make those fairly easily. We then need 2 buckets and another steel casing. So let's go ahead and craft that. I'm going to craft another one just because I know we're going to need it for the digital miner as well. Then we need 2 buckets. We've got 1 bucket on us. However, it is currently filled up with water. Let me just quickly put it down like out here for now. I will get rid of that in the future because that's going to drive me insane. Let's craft up another bucket real quick with all of the iron that we have here. And then let's see about making this osmium compressor. So if we throw this downstairs, we should be able to fairly easily, and we are running out of space here for all of our machines, geez. And I do want to organize them a little bit as well because they're a bit of a mess right now. But let's throw some osmium in the bottom. Let's put some refined obsidian dust in the top. We're going to need at least 2. I'm going to make a third one because I think we might need it before the end of today's episode. And I think it's going to require 1 osmium per piece of refined obsidian dust. And once we've got 2 of those, we can come back upstairs, and now I think we have everything it takes to make the digital miner. So, can we make the Robbit? We cannot, because we need to make the personal chest, which is just some more steel, a little bit more glass, a basic control circuit. We do have 1 more glass, so I think we might just be able to do that if we grab some more wood here. So let's grab 4 of those. Let's bring that back over, craft those into planks, use those planks to make us some chests. And then once we got 2 of those, now we should be able to make that personal chest for the Robbit. Let's have a look. Personal chest is done. Robbit is almost done. What are we missing for the Robbit? We need 2 energy tablets, which probably don't stack, which is why that is probably not working. Refined obsidian on either side there. We need some refined iron at the top, and then what goes smack bang in the middle? It is an atomic alloy. Let's put you there. That gets us the Robbit. We can put you in the center, and now all we need are the 2 teleportation cores, and to make these, we just need some gold, some lapis, and some diamond. We didn't get that much lapis whilst we were down in the mines, but we do have 61, which for now is more than enough to make these 2 teleportation cores. So let's grab those, and then let's craft all of that together to get ourselves the digital miner. Now, unfortunately, the Robbit doesn't stack, the logistical sorters don't stack, a lot of the stuff here does not stack, and so we are going to have to put everything in by hand, but we do have everything it takes to make the digital miner. Nice. So now we've got this, so we need to put this guy down somewhere, and we need to power it. Now, we can put this down wherever we like. We could put it in the overworld. I could put it right here. It's a fairly big machine, and it looks pretty cool. We got like 3 monitors here with like a keyboard and input for power and an output for ores and stuff, and it's a really cool machine, and it's especially cool in that it doesn't actually mine it mines in the way that a quarry would, but it doesn't actually get rid of all the blocks around it. You can come in here and you can specify how the digital miner works, but I'm not going to put it down here. This seems like a bit of a ridiculous place to actually have this thing. Instead, we're of course going to put it in the mining dimension that we set up a couple of episodes ago. We've got this mining portal over here that takes us to the mining dimension, and so my plan is to set it up in there. But if we're going to do that, we need a way to power the digital miner in the mining dimension. Now, there are a few options for that. We could make some tesseracts. We could make more of the dimensional transceivers that we have down here. We could transport the power that we already have through to the mining dimension and then use that to power the digital miner. But I would much rather set up a new power source in the mining dimension dedicated to powering the digital miner, and for that I'm going to make the wind generator, just to kind of keep in theme here, make some more stuff from mechanism. So the wind generators generate power from wind, and the way we make these is with 3 osmium, 1 enriched alloy, 2 energy tablets, and then 1 of these normal basic control circuits at the bottom there. I think we have pretty much everything we need already to make those, so let's go ahead and grab 2 of these energy tablets. I'm actually going to go ahead and make 4, because I'd like to try and make 2 of these wind generators where possible. So let's put those in there. We need the enriched alloy in the center. We need osmium all around it like so. And then what goes right at the bottom? It's one of these basic control circuits. So let's take you. Let's take you. All we're missing to make a third one is gold. We're actually really low on gold of all things. But for now, 2 should be fine. If we need a third one, I'll go do a little bit more mining and try and find a bit more gold. But for now, we've got 2 wind generators and we've got a digital miner. Now, the way that the wind generators work is they generate power based on the wind, but they also do it based on how high up it is. For example, if I put this wind generator down here and I open up its GUI, you can see right now that it's generating, it says 58.18. If we come down here, yeah, it's in redstone flux. You could change the unit of power, by the way, by clicking on this little energy icon down here. We're interested in redstone flux. So you can see right now, it's generating 58.18 redstone flux per tick. However, if we move it a little bit higher up, for example, if we were to put this on top of our house right here, it's now generating 69.82 redstone flux per tick. So it's generating about 10 more redstone flux just by moving it up a couple of blocks. And so if we went really high, all the way up to, say, max build height, which is 256 blocks, this thing could could generate a crazy amount of power, considering it requires no fuel. And the really cool thing is, because of the way the digital miner works, I could put the digital miner here, and it will not affect my house in any way, and it will still mine all of the ores beneath it, and I could even put this thing all the way up at Y256, floating in the sky, and it can get all the ores all the way down to bedrock. And so, what I want to do real quick here is make an angel block, and to do this, we are going to need some feathers, and essentially what the angel block does is it's a block that you can place down in the air without having any of the blocks around it. So what I'm going to do real quick, guys, I'm going to quickly go grab some feathers. And once I've got myself 2 feathers, I can craft those up with some obsidian and some gold to get an angel block. And so now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through to the mining dimension. I'm going to fly all the way up to Y level 256. I'm going to put down that angel block right there, build out from it using some cobblestone or some wood or whatever materials we currently have in our inventory. And then I'm going to put down, oh, we're stuck, but we're fine. That's a weird place to come out there. It's a little interesting, but we can now fly all the way up to Y256. And then once we get around Y256, I'm going to put down the angel block. I'm going to build out with this cobblestone like so. We're then going to put down some of these wind turbines. Thankfully, I can fly, which is going to make this a little easier. But for example, if we put these down, oh, we might be a little bit too high because that is actually 0.255. So let's come down a little bit here. Let me try. I'm not going to be able to pick up all this cobblestone, which is real annoying. It's going to make quite the mess. But let's get rid of all of this here, and I guess let's use some of this wood that we've got for now. So we're gonna put these down like here and here. I believe that putting these, oh, we're still a little too high. Okay, let me quickly go grab some more cobblestone. Okay, so I've managed to get both of these down. If we look inside now, they are both producing 190.55 redstone flux per tick, so a total of about 400 redstone flux per tick right now, which is crazy, considering this power is essentially free wind power. There's no fuel or anything that has to go into this. And so now, if we can put down the digital miner somewhere, let's bring this out a little bit and stick it down, let's say right about there, we can connect all of these up to the digital miner, like so. If we do something like this and like that, this guy should now have some power. So if we look inside, we should see power coming up on the right. It's full on power. And now, the way that this works is we have to set up a config for what we want the digital miner to mine. So first of all, it's got radius here. It defaults to 10, but I believe the biggest here is 32, and that's the radius in which it's going to mine kind of in a square. You've then got the minimum Y level you want it to mine from to the maximum Y level that you would like it to mine from. I'm going to say like 128 is the maximum here, because I don't think that ground level there goes any higher than 128. We could set this to 256, but essentially all that's going to do is use more power for the digital miner to scan all of these empty air blocks, which we don't really need it to do. So we're going to set it to 32, 0, 128. That means it's going to mine in a 32 by 32 area from 0 all the way up to 128. I hear inverse mode. I don't want inverse mode on, but essentially what you can do is you can set up a filter, and you could pick an item. For example, I could put cobblestone in here and save that and say only mine cobblestone. I can also put the inverse filter on and say only mine everything that's not cobblestone. Now, I don't want to do that. I don't want inverse mode on, and I also do not want this on either, so I'm going to delete that filter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Ordict, and then over here you can type in which ores you want it to mine. For example, if I typed in ore gold like that, it would only mine gold ores. You can look at the wiki if you want like a full list of all of the ores you can put in, but if you just type in real simply ore and then a star and then press save, it's going to mine all of the ores. You can see right now it's just kind of rotating between all of the ores in the game. And so now if I go back and I click start, let me quickly stick down the chest here right on the back so we can actually output all of the ores and start to store them. If I click start, that is going to start to mine all the blocks. So you can see it's found 13,638 blocks that fit the ore star criteria, and that it is going to mine. And it is going to start mining all of the ores that it can find below that fulfill that category. And so you can see it's fairly slow right now. It's not incredibly fast. We're not even close to using up the power that these two are generating. You can see both of these are full on power, and this guy is also full on power. So we're not really going as fast as we could right now because we do have some excess power. And if we look down here, you can see right now it's using 107 redstone flux per tick. We're producing about 400. So we're producing way more than we need to. And so if we go up here to upgrades, we can still put speed upgrades into this digital miner. And so, let me quickly head on back to the overworld here, because we need to make some speed upgrades to make this digital miner just a little bit faster. And you can also make what are known as energy upgrades, if I type that in as well here, energy upgrades. These will make the machine more efficient and decrease the amount of energy that is used by the digital miner to do the same thing. So the reason that these are useful is because when you do put speed upgrades into any mechanism machine, it does kind of exponentially increase how much much power that machine uses. So if you put, for example, 8 speed upgrades into the digital miner, it is going to tear through a ton of power. But if you balance that out with 8 more energy upgrades, it's still going to use more power, but on nowhere as large a scale as it normally would. So let's go back over here to speed upgrades real quick, and let's see about making a few of these. So we need some more enriched alloys, some more glass, and some obsidian dust. We have 10 enriched alloys. Let's throw like 8 osmium into there. That's going to turn that into osmium dust. Let's start smelting up a little bit more sand so we can get some glass. Actually, I don't even know if we have any sand. It doesn't look like we do. Let me quickly go away and grab some more sand, guys. Okay, so I've smelted up a bunch more of this quite clear glass. Let's quickly grab the chisel here, and let's just turn that back into normal glass. You might be able to craft it in its quite clear form, but just to be on the safe side, let's go ahead and do something like this. We will make, I guess, 5 of these for now. We did run out of alloys there, but I did start making a few more down here before I went to get the glass. So we could take that and make a couple more of these. I think 8 is the maximum that you can put into any singular machine. So let me grab 8 of those. I won't bother making the 9th one just yet. Let's quickly head on back over to the digital miner. And now if we go back over to the upgrades tab, we can start to put in these speed upgrades one at a time. So that one's going to go in. If we back out afterwards, you can see now we got 1 out of 8 speed upgrades, and you can see the effect is 1.33 times the amount of speed. So if we come down here, it's now using 191 redstone flux per tick, but it's going a little bit faster. We can put another one in here, and that's going to make it even faster. That's going to take it up to 1.78 times, but now it's using 341 redstone flux per tick. And so finally, if we were to put a third one in here, this will probably take it over the 400 redstone flux per tick that we're producing, or that we have in these over here. You can see these are now starting to actively lose power, and if we kept it going at this speed, it would actually begin to run out of power and then slow down and stop. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to come back over here. You can click this little down arrow and take one of the speed upgrades out. That takes it back below the 400 redstone flux per tick that we are producing. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab some of this gold ore, and we're going to make some of these energy upgrades. The reason why we need gold ore is because these are made with gold powder, as well as some more of the enriched alloys and some more glass, and we have very little gold back in our base right now. So let me head back here real quick. Let's see about making 8 of those energy upgrades. I might have to go and do a little bit of mining to get some more gold, to make some more of that gold powder. And then once we pulverize some more of this gold, we can take that, we can take a little bit more of this glass here, and then quickly turn that back into normal glass like so, and we should now be able to make 8 of these energy upgrades, not quite so easily. I made speed upgrades again, what is that about? We do need to get some more of those enriched alloys real quick. And once we've got at least 16 of these enriched alloys, I can take all of the speed upgrades out of there. I put those in just to make it go a little bit faster. But once we've got all of those, we can come back over. We can make the actual energy upgrades this time. That's going to get us 9. We only really need 8 of those, because again, you can't have more than 8 in any one machine. We could use that last 9th one in one of our metallurgic infusers downstairs if we wanted to. But for now, let's go back one more time to the digital miner. We're currently using 341.2 redstone flux per tick. Let's put all 8 of these energy upgrades in. And now we are only using 34.12 redstone flux per tick. So all the way from 300 down to 34 redstone flux per tick. So let's go ahead and just pump this back up full of speed upgrades. Let's see how many of these we can get in before it gets crazy again. We're up to 107. Let's keep putting those in. We've got 5, 6. We might be able to put all 8 of these in here. 7. No, we cannot put anywhere near all 8 of those in. Let's take 2 out. That takes us to 341, which should be more than enough. So now we've got 6 speed upgrades in there, making it 5.62 times faster than it is by default. And so we should be mining a ton of these ores. You can see we're mining an ore about every half second or so. And we do want to make sure the auto eject is turned on. That's going to automatically pump all of those ores back out into this chest. And we should probably look at making that into a bigger chest. All we got to do is make one of the wood to iron chest upgrades, and then probably one of the iron to gold chest upgrades to make this a nice big gold chest. And so basically, this is going to do all of our mining for us from here on out. I'll stick the gold in there just for now. And that's it. We've automated our mining process. All we have to do, let this thing run its course. Once it's finished, we can move it over by another 32 blocks, have it mine again, move it over, and just keep moving it over every single time that it finishes. And we now have a nice, unlimited, easy to get supply of ores. And with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode of the CrackPack there. As always, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like. Again, apologies for the massive delay between this episode and last episode of the CrackPack. They should, all being well, be coming a lot more frequently now that I'm feeling better again. So thank you again for your patience. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys next time.